Um, I've had such a shit day. I'm incredibly pissed, even though I shouldn't be. Like, literally, I signed a client today. Like, there's a new project that starts next week, and I should be so much happier than I am. And I'm so pissed. Like if I was getting this a month ago, it would have been something else. But I'm just like, I'm so tired and my stupid fucking driving test, the theory exam went to shit. Like I messed it up and I didn't pass because I had zero time to study it because I was in London. My flight was stupid delayed. Like I still have Bluetooth stuff I'm working through. It's such a pain. I forgot to record yesterday when I landed. Like I wanted to spend some time, but literally, my dog is whining downstairs because I gotta walk her. Like I'm so tired. I have zero desire to do like any work. Like these things are generally short-lived, but it's just been not super fun. I guess I'm looking forward toward the weekend where I can get some kind of time off, I suppose. Like, it's just not being the best time. I mean, I should be happier than I am, which is like I have to get out of that place. Like the number one thing is if I feel like this, I'm a lot less productive, and so like I am pragmatic in my approach to like I can't just focus on working because then I become very ineffective if I lose the kind of the process that I enjoy. At the moment, okay, I'm gonna try and number these clients. So we got 4 clients. Client 1 has Bluetooth stuff going on. They're the oldest. They're not paying me because it was agreed to close scope, so I'm still figuring that out. Client 2, I'm gonna make some changes for them tomorrow. Client 3, I also have to do a bunch of stuff for them. And then client 4 starts next, well, they might pause. There's this new client, which I'll call client 5. They start next week. And I'm probably gonna have to do the work for them myself because I haven't been able to hire anyone and I would not trust anybody right now with the work that needs to be done. And so I haven't really been able to get out of like kind of having to do the work myself. And it's been, that part is just really frustrating. I think like weekends are an important part where I get to reset and then maybe avoid some development work because that part is starting to drain a little bit. I think I just feel incredibly frustrated because I feel like I haven't made progress toward the goals that I have. That's the hard part, which is like, there's a very fine line to tread between feeling unhappy, like you need to be unsatisfied with things. But also if you are too unsatisfied, that will hinder your performance because you'll spend more time upset than, not necessarily upset, like things aren't where I need them to be. And what you like, what people enjoy is winning. There's this Olympic coach who used to, I don't know, like I saw something about him online at some point. But what he would do is he would track he would train somebody and he'd track every single lift they did. So what's your 1 rep max for your bench? What's your 2 rep max, 3 rep max? Okay, do the same for squats, deadlifts, and then do, like the tricep pull downs, bicep curls with this variation, that variation, close grip bench press, wide grip, incline, not incline, flat, okay. You do all of this. And so every single session, right, you would have a new PR because there's 200 list, there's a 200 exercise long list of different things. Like you're bound to hit something on almost every single training session. And I tried implementing that actually when I was training for a while, and it was actually pretty nice. And I think that's the part where like data and tracking is extremely good because it gives you insights and it can help you drive decisions. However, it can also discourage things because you have a bias, right? Based on data, you will believe certain things. This is the same reason why I so passionately hate tests, because they will hinder you. Like, it's a positive or negative spiral. If you score badly on a test in school and you believe you are bad at a certain subject and you apply this label that I am bad at math, you will then take another test that will go worse and take another one that will go worse or just as bad. And so you will reinforce that over time. The same way that the opposite can happen, where if you get something well, people tell you that you're smart and then you believe that you're smart, you do better in the next test or just as good. And so that reinforces the belief that you are capable in that thing. So like either way, when you look at too much data, you will reinforce a certain belief. And so basically the thing that I'm facing now is, unfortunately, the data is not indicating that I'm moving toward my goal. But when I say the data, it's the data points that I have. And so what I need to change is really the data points that I'm looking at. And also, at some point, it's like the goal is arbitrary. The goal is a benchmark. The goal does not, like, it can't affect me too much. And so, like, I'm basically just looking at the top of this big mountain, which I want to climb. And like, it's a stretch of a goal. It's literally like, you know, it's like 8 to 10x what I did effectively last year. And that's a really large goal. And it only hit me just how large it is when I really took stock of the numbers that I need to hit in terms of LTV targets, LTGP, my average project duration, things like that. Only really then did I kind of start to understand, okay, this is how much I'm going to need in order to hit that. And getting to those numbers is not easy. And I only, you know, I start to realize those things and whatever. And feeling like I'm not making progress toward those is incredibly painful, because it's the end of February. We're 3 months in. We're almost a quarter in. So it's the end of February. It's the start of March. Like, it's not a super real, like, there's this thing about latency, which is the work that I do now will only kick in. The results will only kick in a couple months from now, right? This is the way business works. This is the way life works. If I work out today, the results from that, if I work out for a week straight, for 2 weeks, for 4 weeks, whatever it is, the results from that only kick in later, right? So, like, the results you implement in your life, in a bigger picture thing as well, like, if you start meditating, you won't feel anything for the first 90 days. And then after, that's when, you know, maybe things start to go a little better. And I was thinking about this the other day when I was really tired and having a really shit time. I think I recorded it. I was like so incredibly pissed at things. And I mean, even talking this through helps incredibly, because it helps you rationalize. It's that there's this excellent Facebook post by Kobe Bryant, which goes on, you know, he talks about his ankle injury. And he's like, how am I meant to be the best in the world with this injury? How this one misstep that I've done thousands of times, how is it possible? How is it fair? It's so unfair. It's so impossible. How am I going to go back a year later and become the best in the world? And then the reality is, like, my head is spinning. The anger is fury, like something like this, along these lines. And then bear in mind, this is a completely public Facebook post. One of the most excellent posts, like, you know what? I might just pull it up just for that. Like, I love reading it. And it's Kobe Bryant Facebook post after injury. Yeah, here it is. It's like April 13th of April of 2013. So it's more than a decade ago. This is such BS. All the training and sacrifice just flew out the window with one step that I've done millions of times. The frustration is unbearable. The anger is rage. Why the hell did this happen? Makes no damn sense. Now I'm supposed to come back from this and be the same player or better at 35. How in the world am I supposed to do that? I have no clue. Do I have the consistent will to overcome this thing? Maybe I should break out the rocking chair and reminisce on the career that was. Maybe this is how my book ends. Maybe Father Time has defeated me. Then again, maybe not. It's 3:30 a.m. My foot feels like dead weight and my head is spinning from the pain meds and I'm wide awake. Forgive my venting, but what's the purpose of social media if I don't bring it to you real, no image? Feels good to vent, let it out, to feel as if this is the worst thing ever, because after all the venting, a real perspective sets in. There are far greater issues/challenges in the world than a torn Achilles. Stop feeling sorry for yourself, find the silver lining, and get back to work. with the same belief, same drive, and same conviction as ever. Like, I love this post because I think it speaks to what so many people actually feel, which is like, I had such a shit week in terms of just like feeling awful. Like, it's just so incredibly frustrating. The things that I haven't been able to work nearly as much as I wanted to. Like, the results aren't what I want them to be in terms of, like, for my clients, they're not what I want them to be. For my business, they're not what I want them to be. And in turn, the gold depends on the results I produce for my clients. If I don't produce for them, I'm not going to produce anything for the results that I want. That would be kind of 8 to 10x in the business, whatever, the people that I want to hire, the team that I want to build, none of that's going to happen. It's incredibly annoying. And I think that driving test, it really, really just ticked me off, because it's this small thing that's been nagging at me, and now it's going to take more time. And I want to go back to Singapore, but I wanted to do my driver's license before leaving the country. And it's just blown up in my face. My whole plan was to, like, finish it this month, and that's completely blown up because of this one piece. And now it's going to take an extra 2-3 weeks. Like, that, it's not an insignificant amount of time relative to the fact that I wanted to be in Singapore, like, literally in March. I'm going to be paying a gym subscription that's in Singapore that I can't cancel for a year. Is Anytime Fitness, actually. And I can't cancel them for a year, and they don't have an outlet in Lisbon. So I'm literally paying for nothing, just wasting money. And it's like, all these little things are frustrating, but then if you talk it through, they're really not the worst things in the world. And literally, the fact that I closed the deal today puts, it's not even like, I don't even have an actual problem. I just had little sleep and feel a little bit burnt out from, like, kind of not being able to work. And I think the lack of sleep thing has been big. I think sleep is one of the most foundational building blocks, especially for me. Like, I really, really do not perform well without it. And even the calls, I didn't even want to do them. Usually calls give me energy. I like being busy. I like moving around. That wasn't the case. London was great fun. It's just that thing of, I am in a phase where I have to do some more of the stuff that I don't like doing to get to the next step, where I can do more of the stuff that I do like doing. For me, it's meetings. It's running around between meetings. Like, that really drives the most energy for me. Meetings, thinking about things, brainstorming, that really, really interests me. Now, at the moment, like, I don't get to do the most interesting stuff. Like, yeah, I think also competency, like, I want to increase my competency in a particular stack so that it becomes more fun. If you get better at something, you will find it more fun. This is true kind of thing. Like, you'll generally find things more enjoyable when you have a lot more power over what you're doing, right? If you're incredibly good at playing piano, and I'm not talking learning, doing some lessons, I'm talking incredibly good, and playing piano will bring you joy, unless you're forced. If you're forced to do it, it can be troublesome, or like, it can be annoying. No, it's just part of the reality is you have to go through the phase of just learning to suck at things and being okay with that. A lot of venting that I feel like doing right now, just because I wanted to record things yesterday. I didn't. I wanted to make sure that, I guess, I just don't want to run into the risk again. And also, sometimes, honestly, it's the pressure of just not feeling like I'm getting toward those goals. I think I really want to build out more systems to look at more data and track more things so that you can, if you have more little wins, they're a lot more motivating, right? This is the same reason, one of the reasons I started to basically track my bank accounts. I have a spreadsheet where I have different bank accounts, lots of different bank accounts, and across different countries, different currencies. Sometimes they're investments. And I will literally, like, I have a tracker sheet that I fill out I used to do it every day when I started it. Then, no, I don't do it every day. I do it every couple of days. And you can see the graph over time. And that, honestly, has been one of the better things I've done, because it's like really fun to see, but I need to find other metrics, because money's only is a proxy, and not a great one at that. Money can be a terrible proxy, because I might have made a lot of progress, but your money will only serve as a barometer for so many things. There are other things that I want to get a hold of, and they're not easy to track. A lot of them are kind of arbitrary, things like patience and things like that. Anyway, I think I have to talk myself into my enthusiasm about these things. Like, if I talk about it enough, I get excited about what I'm building again, which is like happening as I speak. Like, I am really excited to build this. I am really, really, like, it brings me a lot of joy. And the stress is exactly what I signed up for. So it's a sign that I'm in the right place, and I remind myself of that. I think I'm just acutely aware of that sensitivity that I gain when I'm sleep deprived. My performance goes so, like, it just gets so much worse. And I think I have a little bit of sleep debt to catch up on. And so I want to get that out of the way. And then, like, once I bring myself back into the mental, I want to start meditating as well, because I think I was reflecting on this and just thinking about meditation is great and all, but 3 months ago wouldn't have done me much good. It wouldn't have increased my performance that much. But when it does make a difference is in these moments where other conditions aren't perfect, things like sleep, things like, just feeling like you're not moving toward your goals. A client canceling a project is never fun. But to be fair, I don't know how much I can speak on this. But I hope they cancel. They've been a complete nightmare. They've honestly been a complete nightmare, completely unreasonable. We're playing Chinese whispers, and it's just quite unproductive. So, like, I want to be able to pick the clients that we can do the best work for. And meditation, I think, helps you stay centered in those moments, helps you stay really grounded in those times where conditions aren't as perfect. When things are going well, it's the kind of thing that's, it's like a seatbelt. It doesn't really do anything to you when you're just going, driving around. But when you crash, the seatbelt does you a lot of good. So it's a little extra thing that you have to do and worry about. And like, my biggest difficulty is always keeping routines, because I move around a lot. The easiest way to make or break a routine is move to a new environment. And because I do that a lot, it breaks a lot of my routines. I have no idea where I would have meditated in London. Like, I don't know where I would have fit that in. And similarly, like, maybe in the shower, I suppose, like, there's these little pieces of my days which are constant. So, for example, showers are a really good example of something that I can keep constant. My work environment has become like my music and laptop, like my AirPods Max. They do me so much good, because they insulate that and a hoodie and a desk, and I can work pretty much anywhere. So, like, I want to remove those crutches so that I can move around and I can have that freedom without kind of destroying my flow and things like that. But I need to look for those constant pieces. The shower is probably one of them, because I will always have a shower to myself. So yeah, maybe I spend some time just like practicing meditation there. I think that might be something that's really useful to build. Also, my daily tracker sheet, I've realized I literally don't fill it out. And I want to just focus on the things that I do every single day. Like, simple scales, fancy fails. And I got too fancy with the daily tracker. I got to go back down to just like focus on literally 1 or 2 habits and just do those. And I think recording has been a habit that I've worked on, and so far I've been pretty good at it. I want to continue doing that. And then I want to do that with meditation, I think, next, just because I'm identifying the points where it really would make a difference. Like, I think this week would have gone so much better if I had spent more time on that. And I was in being sleep deprived puts you in a more emotional state. Meditation ameliorates that emotional state so that it affects your decision making less. Now, I'm generally good at I really deal with stress mostly quite effectively, but it is just as any human. I have more emotional states, and if you pick at them, it was the picking at them like with lots of little things. The fact that all the projects, like a lot of things are delayed and not going well. The hiring's taking longer than planned. The cancellation conversation. My flight yesterday was super delayed. It was super exhausted, sleep deprived, and also not being able to pass the stupid driver's the theory test. Like all these things, they add up and they nick away at what you're kind of feeling. And so I do want to create a kind of seatbelt for those situations, because I think Ray Dalio spoke a lot about meditation. He did. I think he would have definitely had weeks where things would have gone absolutely horrendously. And in the big picture, he wins, but wars are made of battles, and you will lose some, even if you win in the big picture. So I'm keeping that in mind, I suppose. Like, I think also when you're feeling frustrated talking or writing through things, like this is one of the most useful moments where recording has actually made a genuinely positive difference. Forcing you to hash out your thoughts into words makes for much more coherent output rather than trying to just feel or think your way. If you try and think your way out of things, you'll think in circles. And I think writing of some form, whether that's blogging or just a diary, whatever it is, if you force yourself to put words on it and explain things the same way Kobe did in that post, like you can talk yourself out of that little rut and zoom out a little bit. Life's a comedy and long shot. So that's Charlie Chaplin for you. I think it's been one of the most useful recordings I've probably made so far. That's actually going to make an impact in the work. Like, I'm going to go walk my dog, and I literally before this I had back-to-back calls. I got off those calls and I did nothing useful, but now I think I've recentered a little bit, so it's nice. That's it. So the plan tonight is just development work, debugging, iOS, Bluetooth, and maybe some admin stuff. Not sure what else. I have to decide whether I'm keeping my assistant or not. I wonder if she watches these. Because she posts them, so it'd be funny. Anyway, they come out a little bit later. I hope she doesn't watch them. But that's also something I'm going to be thinking about at some point. Although, honestly, today I have no time, so it's not really, it's like back in my mind. Probably I'll think about it over the weekend. Yeah, in the meantime, clients 2 and 3 need some work, but they both need, client 3, I gotta check their API, whether it's built out correctly. So client 1 is I just have to debug things, and I gotta spend some time. I think today is the first time I'm gonna have some actual proper time this week to work on things. That's the part that's been annoying me, is like I haven't been able to do that, and that's not good enough. I need a developer who I can rely on to push out this kind of work and who can help out on that stuff. So yeah, I need an A-star player right now. I need somebody else on the team. Like, I think when you go from 2 to 3, big difference in terms of like, there's 2 developers right now. I need 3. And I need somebody who's really good. And that's not easy to find, but we'll see. I found a guy today who was pretty promising. Attention to detail wasn't superb. Quality of code, much better. Still some stuff that could be improved, not the most. To be fair, I say much better, but the initial benchmark was really low, so who knows. But yeah, I better get going. And I honestly have to take a look at my task list. I haven't even done that because I got up late, I had calls, went for the driving test, came back and had lunch, and then I was so exhausted And I can't put my finger totally on why, but I'm gonna take care of that. Hopefully tonight. Sleep a little bit early. If not tonight, it's gonna be tomorrow night. Not doing anything Friday, Saturday night. No plans. Other than working. Joys. Just joys. Also, I think it might be nice to like try and go. I don't know. No. I was gonna say this other kind of goal that I have, but I think I gotta shut up and just focus on the ones I have at hand. The meditation, I think, would be really nice to implement. I used to do it. I used to do gratitude. Gratitude made a really big difference in my life. Like, it made a really, really big difference in so many fields of my life. I gotta get back to that. So, yeah. My take on gratitude is also, it's really simple. It's just like, if I practice it, I just take more notes. I just take more stock of the little things on a daily basis that make things a lot more enjoyable. And the little things, I mean, I reflect on things on a daily basis and just be really specific. So it's like, oh, I really like that lasagna. It was really, really good. And it's just like odd things, like everyday little tiny things. You might think that statement's really weird, but over time you'll find there's so many nice little things. I really like the way that tree looked in the sun today. The workout felt really good to me. That one set of bench press was amazing. Like things like this, where I'm really specific. It forces me to reflect on my entire day. I did that for the better part of a year, and it really made a difference. Then I broke out of that habit when I started traveling. So it goes back to that thing of like, if you travel too much, certain habits will be hard to keep. Because my gratitude habit was tied to my bedtime habit. Like I organized things in a journal at the end of each day, and that was really nice. But when I started traveling, I didn't do that anymore because different room, different situation, whatever. Suddenly, that wasn't the case anymore. But despite that, I still brush my teeth everywhere I go. So you can definitely build habits that go with you. You just have to be intentional about where and how you build them. So, for example, showers, brushing teeth, these things will happen everywhere. So, attach. Yeah, I'm thinking a lot about that. I think so much about how to change people's behavior. So I think that's one of the most interesting things to think about. Anyway, at this point I'm rambling. I don't think it's marginal utility is being diminishing. So I'm gonna go sort things out, walk my dog, and eat dinner, and then go back to work. It's like 2 a.m. I honestly spent the last, I don't know how long, being frankly pretty useless as far as getting work done goes, because I've just been procrastinating this Bluetooth stuff, and it's because I really like it's a lot of heavy lifting and heavy debugging and things like that. Now, the procrastination is 100% on me, but this project has really forced me. I mean, since I was 13, my mindset has always been like, oh, I can figure it out. And the thing is, you can figure anything out. If you search online, you will figure it out. Like, that is, you must believe this with a lot of conviction in order to build anything big. You have to be willing to believe in things that most people would consider unattainable or unachievable. No average 13-year-old thinks about building a business or making a website. It just seems out of scope, like of your kind of normal abilities. It just seems impossible, whatever. And, my thinking at the time was just, well, I'll figure it out. Like, I don't see why not. And this is really, really powerful thinking to explore a lot of things. But one of the biggest lesson I've had in business continues to be that you do not solve problems, you manage dichotomies. You in life, in general, in anything you want to do, you're not solving problems, you're just managing dichotomies, because there are two truths, there are two things, both true, which are opposing. And you have to manage when you listen to one truth and when you listen to the other, and you cannot ignore either side. And in this instance, that mindset took me very, very far. But at the same time, I must still apply that mindset to certain things, but at the same time, I've applied that to, for example, a project like this, where it's like, oh yeah, I'll figure it out. And yes, you may be able to figure it out. And this is why I didn't niche at first, is because, like, anything I could get my hands on, as soon as I smelt the idea that I could close a new deal, because I had no idea how to get leads properly, I was just like, as soon as anything came across my plate, I'd be scrambling for it. And if it was something that was totally out of scope of what I actually had done previously, I was just like, yeah, I can figure it out. I can totally do it. Now, that is a possibility, but you will not be the best at that thing when you are figuring things out. And so if you want to build a big business, people pay you to be the best at something. People do not pay you to figure it out. They will, or if they pay you to figure it out, you're going to be like the not so well paid, unless it's really hard to find anybody else who can figure things out. So if there's some really, really specific task that you can figure out that nobody else can't, people will pay you for that. But if I'm figuring out how to do something that other people are specialists in, I'm never going to be the best paid. And this project has really had me reflect on, like, being much more serious about niching down in a particular stack, because I want to be able to produce the best work. And this project is incredibly delayed. I'm really unhappy with it. Like, I'm ashamed of the delays. And that I don't want to see on my other projects. And so I need to niche down in order to avoid that. That's one of the biggest things. And so it is a fine line to tread between, yes, I can figure anything out, but also being sensible in what you take on and not trying to do the things that you're not the best at, because you will not produce the best results. You're not going to make people feel great about working with you. And if they don't feel great about working with you, they're not going to refer anybody. Things aren't like, you will be basically creating headwinds that will slow you down. And there's no point marketing something that has, negative traction, that for every customer you get, they tell other people not to buy you, because you're basically marketing into a black hole. You will be playing the sales game the rest of your life, and it's going to be terrible. It's much easier to play in the reorder business, do an amazing job. And so I had a conversation with a friend earlier, and he asked me to do some stuff, and I was like, this is really out of scope. And me a year ago would have said, yeah, I could probably do that. I mean, it's not totally what we do, but I could definitely figure it out. Or if somebody had come to me with something like, yeah. And today I wouldn't do the same thing. And I realize the value of that now. And the pricing that you can also charge by just focusing is also very, very different. You can get much further by doubling down. And I just really underestimated the difference that would make. And I think I wasn't confident in my ability on how to do it. I didn't know how to, I really was afraid of kind of restricting off possibilities and telling people no and saying no to deals. That was incredibly daunting for me. And I would be so much further ahead if I had started doing that earlier. Say no to opportunities that do not make sense to you. It is hard. It's really hard, especially when you're, as a young person, you want to say yes to everything, especially if you're any breed of ambitious. That is such a common mistake, because ambitious people want to do things. And so you just want to do more and more things. And the first thing I started saying no to was other opportunities. So that was the first step, where when I focused on Mint House and when I said no to the 50 other side hustle ideas and things that the internet overstimulates you with, that was the first piece of focus that really brought me some results. And it got me to 6 figures. But I wasn't focused on the kind of service that we were delivering. If I had done that earlier, I would be so much further ahead, literally so much further ahead. Like, if you're watching this and you happen to have any business, anything like that, and you're starting out or in a similar position to where I was, or even if you haven't started anything yet, niche down. It is like, I mean, I see my friend doing this. I have a friend who's trying to do some like deal brokering business, and he's got zero niche, absolutely none. And I can't stress enough what finding a niche could do for him. But the thing is, like, I don't insist, because you can bring a horse to water, you can't make it drink. I get zero benefit out of whether you niche or not, whatever. Like, I'm just saying from my experience, if I were to talk to myself a year ago, God, I wish I would have niched earlier. It would have brought me so much further. And the thing is, most of the time, the advice, like the advice exists. niches or riches are in the niches, whatever. Like all of this information I knew and I had at the time. I just didn't know how to materially execute on it. And I didn't know that, well, I wasn't willing to say no to deals. That's the biggest difference. I acknowledge riches are in the niches. I just made excuses for staying a little bit open. Just do one thing. And Impossible to Inevitable, that book about making revenue predictable, or yeah, by Aaron something, I don't know. Impossible to Inevitable, that's the name of the book. You can search it up. That book does a really good job, especially for me, for like any service-based business, of explaining how you should approach, like, you have to have a service you have to solve one very specific problem. If you solve too many problems, it's very unscalable. And, now I've started to niche in like tech stack, and I'm like, we only do React and Node. These are the two problems we solve. What more specific can I do from there? Like, honestly, that's the next question I'm asking myself. The first step is, though, obviously I need to just stick to React and Node development for the time being. But, and I think I want to sell to more technical leaders, because those deals are far more profitable. But frankly, it makes such a big difference to be the best at just one or two or a handful of things. It's remarkable. And I wish I had done that earlier. And I was just reflecting on, like, I'm doing this project now. I've been kicking this can down the road for however long. It's been incredibly painful for me, for the client. It's just been a bad experience. Like, the thing is, I built a really good relationship with this client. And so I feel really incredibly sorry. And so it's been a bad experience, not in the kind where like I hate the client hates me. Like, we have a great relationship. I just feel really ashamed of what I've done. Of like, I'm not proud of this piece of work, and I'm incredibly pissed about that, because I hold high standards for myself. I hold really high standards about the work that we put out. And I want my client to be proud of having worked with us, and I don't think I've done that. And yeah, I'm not I'm going to do absolutely everything in my power to make sure I and a client never sit in the same position again. And I want everybody I work with to be absolutely screaming from the top of every rooftop that they loved working with us, that working with us was the best decision they ever made. That is the experience that I want to create. And I don't think we did them for this. And that just triggered my, I was just thinking about that and wanted to reflect a little bit. I think that's like a really nice reflection. One of the most important reflections, I'd say, if I ever look back on things, like that'll be, it was an incredible learning. It's not even incredible. It's just like a step that everybody talks about, but until you take it, you don't really internalize it. It's easier said than done. Extremely easier said than done. And I was just thinking about that. Anyway, I gotta get to work at 2:30 in the morning, right? Because I couldn't bring, anyway. So that's happening, and I will hopefully make a breakthrough, because I have a call with them tomorrow as well. So that'll add to the fun, is just having to have those calls where I painfully explain that we still are figuring it out, and it's not been easy. So yeah.